Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Blender tutorials for board game components. I'm just going to call it that. This is something I've been working on. It's a layout for a game called Steam Up. I featured it in the previous tutorial, and I will again, because what you're seeing right now is the retail version of the game, but the deluxe version of the game will have meeples. Today we're gonna create the wooden textures for the meeple, not only to create to extrude a meeple, which is pretty similar to things we covered in previous tutorials, but we're going to actually create what's called a procedural texture. This texture is created completely in Blender. Some textures use, like we did for the game boxes and such, image textures which we applied to the model. Here we are going to use the shading node system to simulate this texture from scratch. I've already recorded this tutorial once. It was a little too long, so I'm going to streamline this and just go exactly through the process I did. But you should know that this is a complete, play around with the Blender process. You just throw in nodes, you play around, see what they do till you come to the results you like. I'm going to show you my process. You can, discover your own after that and see if you find something different. And please share in the comments if you found a different way to do it. So let's start by opening a new Blender file. Delete the cube and let's add in an image as plane. Let's choose the monkey. So remember, we have two ways to go about it. One is by using curves and modeling the shape of the monkey and then extruding it, of the meeple, whatever you're doing. The second method is using Photoshop and Illustrator by creating a vector file and importing it. This is actually what I'm going to be doing now to save time. So again, I streamlined this process because I already covered it in a previous tutorial. I'll link it up here. First of all, dimensions. Cannot stress this enough. Make sure you have your dimensions right. This needs to be 20 millimeters on the x-axis. So let me scale it down until I get to 20 millimeters. And that should be 0.02. Right? Again, being terrible at math is one of my superpowers. Okay, and now object, convert to mesh. Now previously, I gave another method for fixing this geometry by adding a remesh modifier. I now realize there's a much simpler way to do this. I apologize because this is much easier. Just click A, X, and dissolve faces, and that's all there is to it. This method just didn't work for me for some reason in previous versions, and I tried it again and it seems to have worked. This way is definitely much better. You get one clean face, which is what you want, and it's much easier to work from here. But the remesh way also works, so that's fine. Let's add a Solidifier Modifier, set the offset to 1, and the thickness, oh, that's big. Thickness for our meeples are 5 millimeters. We could also change that afterwards. So we can just apply this for now and then change the z-axis to 5 millimeters. That makes more sense. And save. Saving is important. Monkey meeple. Always save when you start the project. Apply the scale. Now let's start working on our wood texture. What we can do now is just stand our meeple up. So just X minus. I always get that the other way around. Sorry, X 90. There we go. And let's just move it a little bit to the center. You notice that the origin point is on the corner here, so you can set origin to geometry and then it will spin in the way you would expect it to. Go to the shading tab. Delete, this is like the default SVG material. You can just take that off and create a new one. First of all, we want to decide the color of the meeple. Now, the best way to make procedural textures is to use a reference. You can see here, it has all these swirly lines and sort of roughness, jaggedness. We can see how shiny it is. We should open a reference for the monkey, okay, because we want to have the same color as the monkey. And then maybe we can open a reference for a meeple, but I have this meeple here, so open the monkey here, so you can use copy the colors. Start with base color and just the eyedrop tool, copy this color. And another thing we want to do already is to create a subsurface color. This would work by bringing out two different sets of colors. If you look into your meeple, you see there's different shades. Okay, see here the different shades of green. So using a subsurface color, which is basically color that once you shine a light through something, like through your skin, you would see the light coming through and creating a different color. So this is the color that would come out. I hope that makes sense. So with the subsurface color, choose the same color, but just make it a little lighter. Just a really tiny bit. Turn subsurface all the way to full. Just zoom in a little bit here. Okay, also take specular all the way to the top and specular tint all the way to the top. Roughness should be around 0.25. Just to make it shiny enough. And so this will be our basic color texture. We want to mix that in with the wooden texture. So for that, we would need to create a new shader and principal BSDF, which is the main texture window for most uses. And we want to mix between them. So add a mix shader, organize it neatly in the middle. You have the top connecting to the top and the bottom connecting to the bottom. And then this one connects to the material output. So now it's mixing both of these together, which is right now just a white color and a brown color, which doesn't help us. But right now we want to work on this, so set the factor all the way to 1, and here we will create our wooden texture. The wooden texture that I created is based on two different texture nodes. One is the Voronoi, and the other one is a Musgrave texture. A Voronoi texture, just to show you more or less what it does, is like a Voronoi window. Okay, it has all these cute squares and you can make them randomize. You have all these different options. I have no idea exactly what they do, but you can just go through them and see that they give some sort of different look. And the Musgrave texture is these sort of army blotches, army camouflage. But again, there's so many options you can do with this to create all these interesting shapes. By the way, I'm doing this using a node Wrangler, which is a very helpful tool. I don't know if I mentioned in the previous tutorial, but go to add-ons right here, node, and check the node Wrangler. Then you have tons of shortcuts to help you with texture work. So for example, to just view a texture individually, you just click Control Shift and click, and then it'll show it to you. And then go back, Control Shift click, go back to the final output. So these are the ingredients I use. Use this as your menu to create a nice wooden texture. Voronoi, connect it with the color to the metallic shader. Put the scale at 200. Randomization on full. Connect the Musgrave height to the vector. Scale 0.7. Detail 2. Dimensions 2. And the last one on 4. Ooh, that looks nice. Now you can play around with it to get like all these different results. but I liked it that the main circle is here on the monkey's butt. And now we can play around with it further by adding a mapping node and a texture coordinate. And there's another shortcut for that if you apply the node Wrangler and it's Control T. Then we can automatically play around with the location, rotation, scale, put it the way you want it. So this is very smooth wood. Let's now see the combination between the two. 0.5. Okay, so our meeples aren't that smooth. They seem a little jagged. There's a few more things that we need to do. First of all, I want the base color here to be completely black, so it will match the color of the monkey correctly. But now we can't see the swirls, so let's make the subsurface color a little grayish and turn on the subsurface all the way to the end. Also turn on specular and specular tint, even though I don't think those will do much of a difference. Yeah, the specular you can put up, specular tint, I guess you can leave it 0. Okay, so this looks like a very varnished meeple. You can like cover your floor with these. Yeah, let's give it a little bit more roughness. We'll do that using this displacement node here and the material output. Usually that is used for the cycles renderer, which can show actual displacement. Displacement is when you have like bumps on a material and they actually physically extrude out of the object. And if you move the camera all the way to the side, you'll actually see it coming out. If you do use it on Eevee renderer, which is what I usually use, it'll just simulate that. So add a noise texture and connect the factor to the displacement. Okay, now it really looks like an army monkey. Let's change it a little bit. Turn the scale down to 1. Detail all the way to the top. Roughness all the way. And I think that's good. Yeah, that looks really good. And there you have it. It's a wooden meeple with wooden textures, all procedural, made in Blender. Again, there's hundreds and hundreds of ways to do this. This was just the way I discovered. You can look up other tutorials. You can download wooden textures and just apply them. You know, some meeples have these lines on them if you look closely, but I chose not to do that because I felt like it didn't look well. It didn't look good in 3D. This is what I liked. You can make your own and feel free to share your method down here below. All that's left to do now is to just apply the monkey face on the side here. So go to edit mode, face selection, select just this face, make sure it's facing the right way. Add a new material, meeple sticker, base color, image texture. This could be done both from the node editor and this screen over here. Choose the monkey and assign. Go to vector generate. There we go. We have our meeple monkey meeple. Let's give it a little bit more shininess. So thank you very much for joining me for this quick tutorial. Go make the meeples and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And let me know if you have any questions or anything you would like to see. Next time we would get into actual minis. And another thing is I'm going to be releasing the full recording for, oh wow, all these screens. I'm going to release the full recording of the first hour and a half that I worked on this. It was with full commentary. I had a lot of issues that I had to deal with. There's always problem solving when you come to Blender in 3D. Things don't go the way you expect them to, but it was a very interesting process, so I hope you can learn from it. And then I'll release also a time lapse of the entire process from start to finish. I just had to burn through it, so I couldn't give commentary for the whole thing. That was just too much. So, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.